which brings us to the whistleblowers, specifically number 2. Do we know anything except that he or she is prepared to share more firsthand information than perhaps whistleblower number 1?
You know, it's interesting, Brian, from my perspective, whistleblower number 2 coming forward seems to be an effort to not let whistleblower number 1 stand alone, and also to help buttress and defend against the claims that the president and his allies have made that all of this stuff is just hearsay. The problem with the hearsay argument is everything that the whistleblower has said in his complaint seems to be buttressed by the president's own comments, the White House's confirmation, and the transcript, rough transcript, that the White House released. Almost every single thing that whistleblower has said has been proven true. Still, whistleblower number 2, who appears to be an intelligence official with much more firsthand knowledge, has come forward ostensibly to help say, no, this is not one lone person. There are people who saw this with their own eyes, heard it with their own eyes, perhaps with their own ears, forgive me. And what's interesting to me, Brian, about all of this, and part of it is all the reporting we've been doing about other calls that went off the rails, is that this group of people on the National Security Council, people who are often active duty military, intelligence operators, they are so much more used to keeping their mouths shut in a position of trust. What happens in the White House stays there. But now they've taken a new route. They're so frightened. They're coming forward, they're speaking, they're saying what's happened because they feel a larger duty from what I can tell. And the larger duty is the obligation to tell the American public what's happening.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.